Transport, he has even gone into the matatu business. He now has over 100 matatus in Nairobi. Agriculture, poultry, minerals, gold prospecting in Amboseli, Logorian, Transmara, DRC, including in Darfur. Literally, all business people in Kenya have been driven out of business by William Ruto. The Parliament of Kenya has failed in its legislative oversight and representative role. Its members, except the few who hang around with me, are on record boasting how they are paid for everything that they pass in Parliament. I must remind all parliamentarians that they are accomplices to criminal acts under the archaic leadership of the UDA with wing Moses Wetangula. The National Assembly is one of the major causes of the suffering of Kenyans by passing bad laws like the Finance Bill 2024, whose provisions were later sneaked through amendments and omnibus legislation. Mr. William Ruto's attempt over the last 4 years to undermine the office of the Auditor General has been frantic and uncalled for. He now wants the Auditor General arrested for resisting theft of public funds. The people of Kenya will not allow it. Mr. William Ruto has made IPOA non-functional in the last 4 years. An attempt was made through a Gazette notice to put it under the Ministry of Interior so that they can cover all the crimes against Kenyans and the police. Fortunately, our court stopped this covert mission. Historically, IBC has been an institution under low public trust. It is in the public domain that IBC, as currently constituted, enjoys low public trust among Kenyans. The threat by the chairman Ethocon to suspend or allow by-elections if there is violence is a clear indication that he is under manipulation by William Ruto. The Central Bank of Kenya is one of the most critical government institutions we have. However, through the National Assembly, the CBK Act was amended recently to allow the purchase of gold and other precious metals. This is gold bag season 2 loading. Kenyans should be alarmed that CBK has not received currency supplies from Germany for 4 months after it became apparent that the government wanted money diverted to Mombasa and the German suppliers were reluctant. We have also noted the recent changes in the ownership of Dilaru, Kenya, and Kenyans are keenly watching the space to establish whether they want to print currency for bribing voters in the forthcoming general election. Allow me to give 2 practical examples of how William Ruto has captured institutions. I'll use IPOA and KWS as examples. At IPOA, we have over 1,000 cases of police excesses that have been reported over the last 4 years by the people of Kenya. Only about 10 cases have found their way to court. Mr. William Ruto has deliberately slowed down the activities of IPOA. Some few days ago, the Amboseli National Ecosystem the Amboseli National Park ecosystem, 15 elephants died and some lions died later. We were cheated that they were died through suspected cyanide poisoning from pesticides. Tell the Kenyans the truth, Mr. William Ruto. Doing cyanide lynching to extract good prospects. And this warning goes to the people of Ikolomani in Kakamega, where Mr. William Ruto is eyeing your gold deposits. Be very careful. Again, the CS for Health issued Gazette notice number 11492 on 30th July 2026 on the mandatory inbound travel health insurance for tourists traveling to Kenya to have travel insurance in Kenya. We know the reason. This is because goons are after tourists in the country, and now they want to force an insurance policy down their throats. To demonstrate what professionals in this government feel and go through, allow me to quote Professor Njogona Ndungu, the former National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, during a development forum in Sweden. And I quote, "The capacity to do the right things exists, but is overshadowed by institutional failure, where someone seeks to overrun institutions. The current president is overrunning all institutions, leading to conformity driven by fear within these institutions," close quote. What is this if not impunity of the highest order? Patriotic Kenyans, historically, land is one of the most emotive issues in Kenya. Mr. William Ruto has promised to set all historical land injustices in Kenya and resettle millions of squatters across the country. Unfortunately, he has scored the lowest in this matter and created many war fronts on the land question. Over the last 4 years, William Ruto and his cronies have been involved in an historic high-level grabbing of land and misuse of public lands. For instance, 2,800 acres have been grabbed by Ruto and his cronies in Kebiko, Kajiado. 6,000 acres of land in Waso Kedong in Suswa has been grabbed. 5,000 acres of land on Kyobo in the Masai Mara has been grabbed. 1,000 acres of land for Puko and Lima of Olokuto adjudication section in Narok North. Kehoto land, about 300 landowners risk being thrown out of their 700 acres of land. Davivi land in Naivasha has been grabbed by William Ruto. He has put up a home and he is growing wheat and maize in the farm. Banita settlement scheme, 14,000 acres of land have been grabbed. Olongai land, about 167,000 people are at the risk of eviction as this land is being grabbed. Egerton University land, Oscar Sudi, Samburu, and William Ruto have grabbed 2,000 acres of land meant for the university where they are doing wheat farming. Patriotic Kenyans, health has long been one of Kenya's foremost national priorities. Building on the gains made at Kenya Vision 2030, the Kenya Kwanza administration committed itself to delivering universal health coverage by guaranteeing every Kenyan access to affordable quality health care. The plan pledged to realize the constitutional right to health through a reformed national health insurance scheme founded on the principle of leaving no one behind. To implement this commitment, the government replaced the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, with a failed and fraudulent scheme called SHA that has left millions of Kenyans on their own. The discontinuation of Linda Mama and Edu Afia on December 31st, 2023, has left significant gaps in healthcare coverage. In 2022, Edu Afia provided medical cover to 3.4 million secondary school students at an annual cost of 3.2 billion. Today, approximately 4.1 million secondary school students no longer enjoy that medical cover, leaving parents to bear the full cost of treatment. Mr. William Ruto had committed to addressing the inequities in Kenya's education system so as to level the playing field for all children irrespective of their background. He further committed to equitable universal basic education defined as 12 years of schooling. He further committed himself to protecting and strengthening the gains made under free primary education and free day secondary education, while ensuring that every Kenyan child had access to quality, affordable, and equitable education. He also pledged to strengthen higher education financing and invest in the nation's human capital. The William Ruto government inherited landmark education reforms introduced by previous administrations. Free primary education launched in 2003, free day secondary education introduced in 2018, that had significantly expanded access to education for millions of Kenyan children. The commitment was not only to preserve these gains, but to build upon them by ensuring adequate capitation, sustainable financing, and improved access to quality education for all. In the words of the third president of the Republic of Kenya, the best president we have ever had, Mzee Mwai Kibaki, and he said, and I quote, "Education is the ultimate means of ensuring an equitable society. Equitable education ensures that every child has a chance to fulfill their potential and rise to the highest level of accomplishment," close quote. 4 years later, the government has caused irreparable instability and confusion in the educational sector. The gains made by the previous administration under free primary education and free day secondary education have been eroded to dust. Secondary school parents now showed a substantially higher education cost, while the level of government capitation has failed to keep pace with inflation and rising operation costs. The capitation rate established in 2017 was 22,000 per student. However, today's schools receive only 9,000 per student during the previous financial year, creating a significant funding gap. Our public universities are facing unprecedented financial distress. University debt has increased from 60 billion in August 2022 to approximately 100.3 billion Kenya shillings, representing an increase of Kenya shillings 40.3 billion, or about 67% increase. As a result, many institutions are experiencing severe financial challenges that will affect the delivery of quality education. Further, we have had two university financing models in 2 years. Measured against the commitment to strengthen education, protect free basic education, and improve access to higher education, the evidence presented suggests that the sector has experienced significant setbacks, placing greater financial pressure on families and creating uncertainty for learners and institutions alike. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. William Ruto pledged to invest 250 billion Kenya shillings into the agricultural sector to shift the country from food security to surplus production. Recognizing its strategic importance, he pledged to transform the agricultural sector by increasing productivity, improving farmer incomes, and revitalizing key value chains. The administration committed itself to revamping underperforming export crops, expanding emerging high-value crops, strengthening the tea value chain, supporting food security, and promoting agro-processing as a driver of economic growth. Despite the commitments made, our farmers have experienced increased economic hardship. Net incomes have reduced due to increased cost of inputs, higher taxation rates, high transport and distribution costs due to reclassification of VAT status. Agriculture continues to receive approximately 2% of the national budget, significantly below the African Union 10% target under the Maputo Declaration. The tea sector has faced considerable challenges for the past 4 years. This is due to the deterioration of Kenya's economic and diplomatic relations with Sudan, historically one of the largest buyers at the Mombasa tea auction. Sudan's annual consumption of Kenyan tea declined from approximately 10.7 million kilograms to about 1.7 million kilograms, leaving substantial volumes of tea unsold. But why has this happened? Mr. William Ruto's appetite for business and money has failed Kenya. His close association with the Sudan's RSF warlord, Mr. Hemeti, in illegal trade of gold in exchange for weapons, has reversed the gains we have made. These internationally sanctioned war criminals live in Kenya under state protection and have been issued with diplomatic passports and ID cards by Kipchumba Murkomen. U.S. Senator Jim Risch, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, while noting Kenya's NATO ally status, criticized William Ruto during a May 2025 hearing. Senator Risch questioned Kenya's loyalty following its facilitation and hosting of Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces RSF. Rice farmers in Ahero, West Kano, Bunyala, Bura, and Mwea have also faced significant challenges. Although rice was identified as a strategic import substitution crop, import volumes approaching 1 million metric tons annually have depressed local paddy prices, leaving many farmers with unsold stock. Just recently, on 6 July 2026, William Ruto authorized the gazettement of duty-free importation of 490,000 metric tons of grade 1 milled white rice before 30th November, June 26. It estimates that this represents a missed economic opportunity exceeding 100 billion Kenya shillings if domestic production had been given priority before this duty-free window opened. Even those sugar mills have been listed sector players associated with William Ruto. Their principal business model is to import sugar instead of purchasing locally grown sugar from farmers. This has left 320,000 small-scale sugarcane farmers now facing an uncertain future. The targeted turning of 2 million poor farmers from food deficit to surplus producers using input finance and agricultural extension support. To date, show me one farmer in Kenya who can come forward as a testimonial. Instead, this farmer has nothing. In fact, small-scale farmers in Moya and Ahero are currently in court trying to salvage their crop after government gazetted the importation of 490,000 metric tons of rice for importation. Tea farmers are crying. A 0.8% levy has been introduced, and this year's bonus will reduce from 45 Kenya shillings per kilo. Sugarcane farmers in Western Nyanza and Kisii, the government is unable to pay 270 million owed to them. Cane per ton has reduced from 6,500 to 5,000. Dairy farmers who have supplied milk to new KCC have not been paid for 6 months. It is further alarming that the National Agricultural Value Chain Development Program allocation dropped by 54% to 54% from 10.2 billion Kenya shillings in 2025-2026 financial year to 4.7 billion Kenya shillings in 2026-2027 financial year. This is a direct assault on the agricultural value chain in Kenya. As Deputy President, I initiated progressive reforms in the agricultural sector that increase returns for tea, coffee, dairy, and other cash crops. Through my efforts, we negotiated an 8 billion debt waiver for coffee farmers that was suspended as soon as I left office. More can and more will be done once we form government on August 10 next year. Patriotic Kenyans, William Ruto pledged affordable credit and working capital through an accommodative financial ecosystem, removing structural exploitation and removing barriers to unsecured agricultural credit. To date, the Agricultural Finance Corporation is underfunded. It has a demand of 15 billion Kenya shillings per year from farmers, but the promise to fund it by 10 billion Kenya shillings per year was a hoax. Instead, those who borrowed are being auctioned. Dear Kenyans, William Ruto pledged to revive collapsed cooperative factories and processing plants such as sugar and dairy sectors, and guaranteed minimum returns for farm products. Show me any revived sugar factory. Instead, they have been sold, and they have been bought by RUTO and cronies. Where is the cashew nut factory you promised in the coast? Where is the value addition centers you promised in 47 counties? Where are the county industrial and aggregation parks you promised? Where is the state-of-the-art slaughterhouse you promised at Bachuma for animals in northern Kenya? Where is the nitrogen fertilizer factory you launched in Naivasha? Where is the marble factory?
Every ding is an order, guys.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Capital infusion, including 250 billion for tea value chain and expanded investments in dairy farming and coffee cherry funds. Where are these funds? Nowhere. On blue economy and fisheries, funding for fisheries and the blue economy decreased by 30% from Kenya shillings 11.15 billion to Kenya shillings 7.83 billion. Livestock sector allocations of livestock fell by 14% from Kenya shillings 13.6 billion to 11.6 billion. On eradication of hunger and improved food security, the country was promised prosperity by RUTO. Unfortunately, the number of undernourished people in Kenya increased from 10.1 million in 2004-2006 to 19.7 million in 2023-2025. It is more troubling when you look at the costs of a typical household food basket. A food basket is estimated to have risen from Kenya shillings 15,000 in 2022 to over 19,000 shillings today, an increase of more than 26%. Essential commodities such as electricity, chicken, beef, sugar, kerosene, bread, and milk have all become significantly more expensive here in Kenya over the last 4 years. Patriotic Kenyans, 4 years ago, this government promised the people of Kenya dams and water. 50 mega dams across the country were promised. 200 medium-sized dams across the country were promised. 1,000 small dams were to be constructed across the country. These dams included High Grad Force Dam along the Tana and Mutonga rivers to South Kitui, Tharaka Nithi and Embu counties. Soin Koru Dam in Kisumu, Rumuruti Dam in Laikipia, Mohoya Dam in Nyeri, Kirinyaga, revival of Arol and Kimorel dams, Thakwe Dam, Sioi Muruni Dam in West Pokot, Badasa Dam in Marsabit, Darugo in Kiambu, Rale in Kilifi, Galana in Tana River, Kokwanyo Dam in Homa Bay, Lowati in Turkana, Makamini in Kwale, among others. Unfortunately, all we see, no dam. All we see is our president visiting other countries like Ethiopia to witness the launching of their dams. Where are these dams, Mr. William Ruto, in 4 years? On matters of environment, this administration had committed to grow 15 billion trees by the year 2032. What we are witnessing is the lifting of the logging ban and the systematic logging in national forests under the cover of the Kenya Forest Service. Numerous court cases have been filed by international conservation groups Greenbelt and the Law Society of Kenya against the government's attempt to develop, build infrastructure in protected natural habitats. Talanta Stadium and Bomas Conference Center Link Road that will see over 100 acres of forest destroyed. Upper Imend Forest in Meru is being cleared for the construction of a state lodge, a golf course, and an airstrip, which will excise and clear 200 acres of forest. Where was this promise? Even the trees at the gate of State House have been cut. Is this still part of the growing 15 billion trees? Patriotic Kenyans, in foreign affairs, we had the worst since independence. Kenya's nose is poked everywhere, including the war in Ukraine and Russia, where our young men are lied to that they are jobs, well paying for that matter, but they find themselves in the war front. Reports indicate that we have lost 19 Kenyans, including Clinton Nyapara, Dennis Bagaka, Erastus Mundia, Simeon Wahome, Eric Mwangi, Ronald Kibet, Shadrach Wafula, Othiabo Martin, Ibrahim Yahaya, among others. Several other Kenyans in their hundreds remain unaccounted for, and hundreds of others are still active in the war zone. Their parents are keen at home, still crying to see their loved ones back home. A person who was in Kenya in 2022 would wonder whether the Kenya Kwanza commitment to a creative and robust foreign policy whose pillars will be economic and commercial diplomacy changed into converting our young Kenyans into war fugitives in far countries. As if that is not enough, the footprints of Kenya adversary in DRC Congo war zone and M23, Sudan's Darfur, Southern Sudan, among others. He had promised to enhance and promote further local investment by Kenyans living in the diaspora. In Mandera County, Jubaland forces have taken over more than half of the town, and William Ruto signed a secret deal with the Al-Shabaab in 2024 that has remained silent. Notably, in July 2026, there were a record 9 terror attacks in Mandera County that resulted in the killing of 5 Special Operation Group SOG officers and 1 National Police Reservist was killed. The foreign policy has been transformed into a tool to achieve personal gains at the interests of the people of Kenya. Fellow Kenyans, now let us move in and ask Mr. William Ruto the hard questions he deserves. But before that, let me give credit where it is due. There is one promise Mr. William Ruto made to the people of Kenya, and he has delivered 100%. Congratulations, Mr. President. Mr. Ruto, you promised to permanently retire the late Prime Minister, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, in Bondo and finish ODM. You have succeeded in both. Odinga is permanently retired in Bondo and ODM is no more. There are many prominent deaths that have occurred in Kenya and they have not been resolved. Kenyans want to know what happened to Raila Odinga. Why were the medical doctors of the late Prime Minister denied access to him at the last hours? Why did he have doctors from Nairobi West Hospital, a hospital closely associated with William Ruto, than his own doctors? Why were the instructions of Raila's doctor ignored that Raila shouldn't travel? Raila Odinga was a respecter of rural traditions and custom. How could a person known respecter of rural traditions and customs indicate that he should be buried in 72 hours against all known rural traditions and customs? Was William Ruto anywhere an executor of Raila Odinga's will? Why was there no postmortem done on the body of Raila Odinga? Why was he forced to go to India through a private jet? Why did the president force Raila Odinga to go to India? Why was his party ODM taken over before his body arrived in the country, despite the known African customs that you don't inherit a man or a woman, for that matter, before they are buried? Who are these doctors who accompanied Raila Odinga against the wishes of his personal doctor, Professor David Oluoch-Oluonya? These are hard questions that Kenyans want to know. On the death of Honorable John Ngeno, the late MP for Emurua Dikil, for the first time, Kenyans must know what happened. I have intelligence information as follows. On the fateful day after Ngeno was dropped at Edebes, the helicopter went to fuel in Eldoret. The pilot didn't know the fuel he was about to put in had been transported to the scene from Lodwar. High alert Kenya revenue officials noticed an unusual car that had carried the jet fuel. It was arrested and the driver questioned. The driver refuted to them that he transported the fuel from Lodwar. Immediately, this KRA official and the police Eldoret Airstream were instructed from Nairobi to release the driver if they cared about their lives. Is it this fuel that caused the chopper not to pick up in high altitude? Is that why the pilot first came down and tried again to pick up? These are fundamental questions. What did Kipchumba Murkomen know about the people who called this KRA officer and the police at Eldoret Airstream officials? Can KEA produce the CCTV footage at the facility on this fateful date? We are still waiting for a report on what killed Johanna Ngeno. We must not forget about our gallant General Francis Ogola, the decorated Top Gun who had a stellar 40-year career in the military and perished in 2024 in an air crash. Unfortunately, to date, Mr. William Ruto, the Commander-in-Chief, has failed to release the aircraft accident investigation report to the country. Kenyans are demanding for answers. General Ogola was not an ordinary citizen. He died in active duty and service to the nation. Mr. William Ruto, what do you know about General Francis Ogola's death? Are you willing to tell the country why you allowed General Francis Ogola to fly in a Bell Hue helicopter with a questionable mechanical status? The DPP must use its powers and establish an inquest on these unresolved murders over the last 4 years. The people of Kenya have told me to demand on their behalf a public inquest on the death of Raila Odinga and all the high-profile questionable deaths in Kenya that have occurred in the last 4 years of William Ruto's presidency. I therefore call for a public inquest and proper scrutiny of the same. Today, after examining major commitment against this evidence, after examining every major commitment against this evidence, the verdict is unmistakable. The plan has failed. It is hollow and deceptive. In conclusion, when the plan failed, Kenyans were told that the answer lay in article. It too has failed to deliver the hope, unity, and reforms that were promised. Thereafter came the 10-point agenda, presented as a renewed roadmap to rescue the country. It has equally failed to change the trajectory of our nation. In failing the plan, the administration has failed to keep Kenya on the development path envisioned under Kenya Vision 2030. The question before the people of Kenya is therefore simple. If the author of the plan could not deliver the plan, if NADCO has failed to provide solutions, if the 10-point agenda has failed to change the country's direction, what reason do Kenyans have to expect a different outcome after 2027? You have all heard William Ruto constantly accusing the opposition of having no plan. I ask Kenyans instead to look at his track record. He came up with a bottom-up economic plan. As we have seen,
A think the hardest part of starting is convincing yourself it's worth starting.
He has failed to deliver. He came up with a 10-point agenda. He has failed to deliver. He came up with a Singapore. It has failed. And now, before he has honored a single promise and his commitments, he is now asking us to believe and trust him to come up with another plan. Vision 2060, or the way he is calling, beyond Vision 2030. Plan after plan, promise after promise, each one designed to distract from the fact that there has been no implementation of the last. From bottom up to Singapore, to Vision 2060 or beyond Vision 2030, William RUTO has mastered the language of plans. Whenever he is asked to account for what he has actually done, because he has no answer, he simply points to the next horizon. The harsh truth is he does not have the capacity to deliver. You cannot fail today and ask us to trust you tomorrow for some distant, far future engagement. Based on your performance, Kenyans don't want to hear about Vision 2030 or beyond 2030. They want to know one thing. What will you deliver in the 364 days between today and the next election? Of all the promises you have already made, which ones can we expect you to keep? That will be your marking scheme 1 year from today. And Kenyans are doing you a favor. They are letting you set that marking scheme yourself. They are not making their own demands. They are just using your own commitments as the standard. So when the day comes, you should have nothing to complain about. Leadership is judged by results, not by promises. Governments earn another term through performance, not through visions and persuasion. That is why millions of Kenyans are saying one term. One term is not a slogan of anger. It is a verdict on performance. It is a democratic conclusion that one term has been enough because the promises made have not been kept. Exactly 1 year from today, on 10th August 2027, we shall go to the polls as a nation. Let us choose accountability over excuses, delivery over promises, and leadership that honors its covenant with the people. As Mr. William RUTO launches his deceptive 2060 plan tomorrow, I want to tell the people of Kenya that it is a lie, it is a con, it is a fraud, it is deceit. I urge all Kenyans from across the country to join in the liberation struggle that kickstarts his 364-day action plan to restore the dignity of our beloved motherland. As William RUTO launches his lie and deception tomorrow, I lead the people of Kenya in launching today a 364-day action plan to restore the dignity of our beloved motherland, Kenya. May God bless you. May God bless the Republic of Kenya. Thank you. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the Second Deputy President, State of the Nation Address. Jamani, makofi tunapoendelea kuzingatia